Thank you all for being here today. Today, as we have the responders behind us from the fire on Arkwright Street on January 3rd, we'll have an opportunity for the responders to kind of talk about their individual actions. Definitely a very tragic event. So far, St. Paul Fire Department has had 4 confirmed fatalities to us from the events of that night. Looking back in our history, the last time we had a multiple fatality fire was in 2017, January of 2017. A female victim as well as a 2-year-old victim were casualties of that fire, as well as 2 other children that sustained significant injuries. So it is uncommon for us to have multiple fire fatalities from one fire, and to have 4 is incredibly just tragic. On average, about 2 to 3 fire fatalities a year at the city of St. Paul. So to have 4 again, January 3rd, or from the events of a fire on January 3rd, is incredibly tragic. So with that, I'm going to invite Chief Hanks up.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. As you can imagine, as I spoke to last week, or the last time we were together, this is a very difficult run, very difficult thing to process for ourselves. You can imagine the difficulty the Bang family has processing what they're going through. This run, it was different and it's unique. You know, in how we responded as a department is difficult to repeat in other areas of the country, other areas of the state. Having the amount of resources on scene, having the amount of paramedics on scene, 63 total responders, putting out the fire, making rescues, and then having the highly skilled paramedics on scene to treat the patients as they're coming out. It's very difficult to do in any department, and I couldn't be more proud of what our members did that day. Not to mention the response times. I talked about that already. Having a rig there in under 4 minutes, having 5 rigs there in under 5 minutes. It's an incredible feat. And other chiefs around the country, other chiefs around the state, firefighters around the country and the state understand what I'm saying right now, that is a difficult task to accomplish, and our department did it that day. We're different in how we respond. We not only do fire response, but we also do all of the EMS response, and that benefited our response that day. It benefited the rescues that day, how we train together, how we work together, and how it works out in the end for our responders and our response. It's, again, difficult to repeat in other areas. And so as the chief, my goal is to explain to our folks behind us, and you're about to talk to them, and I'm very protective of them. I'm their chief, and it's my goal and my mission to help them understand that they did everything they could. They did everything they could. They utilized all the training that they have been given. They worked together as a team, from the first in company to the last paramedic working on folks. They did everything they could. But the outcome is not always what we think it's going to be. And it's my job to continue to work with them so they understand that. So with that, again, I can't thank the support that's come our way as a department. From the leadership of the union that'll speak today, to the folks behind me, to Regents Hospital, to the mayor's office, to friends and family of myself. Everybody has reached out. And it's nice to get that support. It's something we're not used to, or we're not very good at accepting. Is the attention coming our way? But thank you to everyone who did that. And in closing, I thank the women and men of this fire department. I couldn't be more proud to be their fire chief. So thank you.
As the chief mentioned, 63 responders. It'd be tough to get 63 people in one shot. So the folks that are up here are representing everybody that contributed to rescue or transport the day of the fire. So with that, I'll turn things over to Deputy Chief Tony Farina, who was the on-duty deputy.
Good morning. As Chief Makoso stated, I was the on-duty deputy chief for the A shift on the morning of January 3rd. When the call came out roughly at 1:30 a.m., responded to scene. When I arrived on scene, initially it was a very difficult and challenging scene. Multiple rigs were arriving simultaneously, which resulted in a very coordinated effort between our fire suppression and our EMS crews, which allowed for the best outcome for the family as possible. It was very challenging, like I had said, and from what took place on scene and what I witnessed from the members of my shift and this department was outstanding. I'm going to follow up on Chief Inks to say it was unbelievable. I'm completely honored to stand alongside the men and women of this department, and the efforts that they put forward that morning speaks for itself. So, thank you.
Captain John Rule.
Good morning. I'm Captain John Rule, captain of Ladder 22. We were the first arriving ladder truck, so our job is search and rescue. We went around to the back side of the house, made entry there, cleared the basement, which just means we make sure there's no fire, no victims there. Then we went upstairs to the first floor, and that's when firefighter Hemquist, who's in the back of the room there, helped firefighter Waters grab one victim, pull them out. Then after that, it's a little bit of a blur. There was victims coming out. I managed to grab one of the victims and bring them out. And then once all the victims were out, we were outside just kind of helping with victims. So that's about it.
Joel Waters.
Good morning. I was the out-of-title rescue squad captain that day. When we arrived, we were a few seconds behind Engine 17, which was the first rig that was there. Upon our arrival, we pulled the backup line to assist with fire attack. We pulled our line to the front door along with Engine 17, got the hose lines in through the front door. As that was going on, we also started to conduct our search of the house as well. I confirmed with our firefighters who were on the nozzle that we had the fire under control. Once we did that, I relayed that to command, and then I started to help out with the search as well. As I was doing my search, I linked up with some of the guys from Ladder 22, and then while we were searching, I came across the adult victim at that time, and along with myself and the help of firefighter Hemquist, who's also here, we were able to start to get the adult victim out of the house. Upon getting the adult victim out of the house, we relayed her to some of our EMS personnel that were outside waiting for us. I went then back into the house and confirmed with some of our other crews that if there was any other victims, to which case we confirmed that we had everybody out of the house to the best of our knowledge. Once that was confirmed, I went back outside of the house and then started to do EMS care with some of the victims we still had as we were waiting for more resources to arrive.
Firefighter Jake Ricks.
Good morning. My name is Jake Ricks. I was working on Rescue Squad 1 the day of the fire. So we arrived just behind Engine 17. Engine 17 was in the process of deploying their primary hand line. The Lieutenant Captain Waters tasked us with deploying the backup line. It usually only takes 2 people to do that, so as the third in the back of the squad, I went around to force the front door. I forced the front door of the residence while Engine 17 was still in the process of deploying their line. I reclosed that door as it's kind of standard to do, and in the gap, perfectly between when I forced the front door and when Engine 17 had their line charged, it came over, the radio dispatch came over and said that there was an open line in the house and they believed that there were people inside. At that time, I chose to forego standard practice, and I entered the house alone before the first hand line had made its way in. At that time, I found the house to be completely zero visibility. There's moderate heat but I could see kind of a trickle of fire through the smoke on the back wall of the living room. I navigated my way down. I found a partition wall, identified that as a kitchen. I made my way down that central hallway, and I searched in the front left bedroom, which was the bedroom adjoining the room that was on fire. Typically when we search from the fire outwards, so I went to the room that was closest to the fire. As I began that search, I found my first pediatric victim. I removed them from the home, handed them to a firefighter at the front door, and then I retraced my steps back to that room. At that time, Engine 17 and Squad 1 were still extinguishing the fire in the front room. I made my way past them again, back to that front bedroom, and I found my second pediatric victim there, not 5 feet from the first. And so I once again removed that victim to the front door, handed them off to a firefighter, and I made my way back in for a third time, and once again retraced my steps back to that bedroom, and I found my third victim in the upper level of the bunk beds there. I went to remove them from the structure and kind of repeat that same cycle, but when I got to the front side of the house, there was no one there this time. The scene had become chaotic and task saturated. It's not normal for us to have more than one or two. These are very extraordinary circumstances. So I found myself without anyone to hand this victim to immediately. There were people working on setting up fire suppression. There were people working on the victims already. And so I walked with this victim about a block and a half to the south, where I found EMS crews working on the prior victims. At that point, I removed my face piece and my gloves. I began doing CPR. I was handed an oral adjunct, and I placed that in the patient. I began doing CPR again, and that there were other crews that then met us there, and I handed off care back to them so I could work my way back to the house and continue searching. I ran into the 3rd District Chief on my way back to the house, and he said that there was still an adult victim that was unaccounted for, and he tasked me with looking for that person. And as I made my way back to the house, I found all these other victims that I was unaware of up to that point, being given medical aid outside the front of the house. And I re-entered the structure to search for this adult victim, which we never found. We found it was not home. Then we kind of transitioned into our investigation mode.
Firefighter Mason Conlon.
Good morning, I'm Mason Conlon. Like the two who spoke before me, I was assigned to Rescue Squad 1 that day as well. I was sitting in the middle seat, so it was my job to back up the hose line. 17s had beat us there by a few seconds, so they had the primary attack line. As we pulled the hose line to the front door, kind of aired over the radio that there was an open line and possible victims inside. And so we made our way inside. And I kind of known that firefighter Ricks had made his way ahead of us, but I had a thermal imaging camera and I could kind of tell the direction of which he went, and we were pretty comfortable with knowing where each other were. So the fire wasn't large. As you walked in the room, there's a couch right in front of you, and it was sort of to the left just when you walked in the door, and the hallway had been more off to the right, and that's where Ricks had gone. So we, along with Engine 17, we extinguished the fire, which was not a long process, as the fire wasn't very large. As that was going on, I looked to my right and I see I noticed Ricks had came out with the victim and went back in. So I briefly checked that the fire was knocked with my thermal imaging camera, and me and my partner, Jared Massey, who's in the back of the room, continued down the central hallway, and I had noticed that Jake had went left, so we went right. We came to a bathroom first, opened the bathroom door. There's nobody in there, very small bathroom. And then we reached the end of the hallway and took a right. And there's a large bed in the room. Again, visibility was little to none. My partner, Massey, went to the left and I went to the right. About 6 feet into the room, found a pediatric victim on the floor. Picked the child up and brought them outside, handed them off to a firefighter in the front yard. Immediately went back, re-entered the structure, entered the bedroom. I had entered the bedroom across from the one I had entered previous. At the foot of a bed there, located under a blanket, I found a second pediatric victim and brought them outside. And like firefighter Ricks was speaking to, everybody, it was such a task-saturated scene that when I brought my second victim outside, there was nobody there this time to take that child. So without taking any of my stuff off or anything, I looked down the street and there was a group of firefighters and first responders doing medical aid on a group of pediatric victims, and I looked a little closer to me and there was 2 additional firefighters doing care CPR on a child and the adult victim. So again, I just laid my victim down right next to them and began chest compressions, waiting for a medic rig to arrive. Medic 22 arrived, and I then picked up the child and brought them to medic 22. After that, our crew kind of gathered in front of the home once we had known all the victims were removed, and I took off my face piece and stuff, and we began the investigation process. Thank you.
So the fire obviously had 2 components. There's the fire and the suppression element, and then there is the medical treatment and transport. And as we kind of transition, I'll invite Assistant Chief Sampson, our Chief of EMS.
Good morning. My name is Steve Sampson, Assistant Chief of Emergency Medical Services for the City of St. Paul Fire Department. And it's an honor to serve in this capacity. And I'll get to that reason in just a second, but you've heard some of the stories that took place on the evening, or correction, the morning of January 3. The City of St. Paul Fire Department responded to 63,000 calls for service in 2023 for both fire, rescue, as well as emergency medical services. And as Chief Makosa just hit on, unfortunately that morning, all 3 of those kind of facets of our occupation lined up. And tragically for our community, and tragically, obviously, for the Vang family, tragically for our department. And I mentioned the honor part of my position for this department. I'm honored to serve in this capacity because I get to work alongside the folks that you've heard from and some of the folks that you will hear from here shortly. A total of 8 advanced life support ambulances responded that morning and transported patients. And I would be remiss if I did not take a quick opportunity to mention the fact that although we played an incredible role that morning, and I'm so proud of the women and men of our department, we are but one part of the continuum of care for the Vang family. And I want to take a quick second to mention a couple other major partners for us. That includes the Ramsey County Emergency Communication Center, that includes the Regions Hospital, that includes our police department, our mayor's office, the other departments. All of us are reeling in the effects and aftermath of this call, and care continues to take place out there. And I'm so grateful for our hospital partners as well, as they continue to do everything they can to give this family a fighting chance. So with that, they're also in our thoughts. I will not spend any more time up here because there are more important people that have more important information to share. I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity, for allowing us to recognize the incredible women and men of our department and the incredible work that they did that morning. I'm so proud of them, as is our entire community that we serve, and the sacrifices that they make physically, mentally, emotionally to respond, and putting others before themselves. Literally, the definition of service before self was exemplified to a level that I've never witnessed before in my career. So with that, I'll turn it over to Captain Rob Watson. Captain Watson is the captain on Engine Medic 18, one of the first arriving ALS, Advanced Life Support paramedic units that responded that day and delivered incredible care. One more thing that I'd like to add, specifically as our medical direction team. I've heard an expression, I'm going to botch it, so please edit accordingly, but we don't rise to the level of expectations. We fall back to our level of training and experience. And we would not be in the position that we were. We would not have been able to impact that incident and this family as well as we did without the incredible support of our region's medical direction team, the hospital staff, again, like I hit in, our partnering hospitals, and the support we received. So with that, I'll turn it over to Captain Rob Watson.
Hello, I'm Captain Rob Watson of Engine Medic 18. We were the first arriving medic company to arrive on scene. Shortly after Captain Rule was making entry, we announced our position, and I got out, told my crew prepare for an incoming victim. They were prepping gear in the back. I went out to try to locate our victim, and we had passed each other going around the fire truck and the ambulance. I returned back, and I found my crew performing resuscitation and assessment of the first victim, and it was fairly scary because here we have a young child that was, in a pretty rough spot. So my crew started resuscitation. We're working, and we get an announcement. I'm listening to the radio. I got my radio on, and second victim. Door flies open. We have another victim arriving. Second pediatric patient in kind of similar condition. We start resuscitation. The door opens again. Guys, you got room for a third victim. We're task saturated right now. We have 2 paramedics, 2 EMTs in the back of the ambulance. We're working, and I told my partner, I said, start handing gear out the side of the door. Whatever they need, give it to them. We made the decision to transport rapidly. We handed as much gear out the side door of the ambulance as we could. We packed up, and we kind of beat feet to Regions. Gave Regions a heads up that there are going to be multiple incoming victims from this fire, and we're going to be there momentarily. From the time, so we arrived at Regions, and we didn't have enough stretcher space, so I decided to carry one of the victims into the hospital that would rapidly transport these patients into the care that they needed. So I carried one victim in, came back, and I said, hey docs, we got another victim coming in right now. And we brought the second victim in, and right around then, I think more medic companies were arriving on scene. Our total interaction time was 9 minutes from the time we arrived on scene to the time we arrived at Regions. And we were pretty happy with providing that level of care to those people.
Morning, my name is Mike Childs, captain of Engine Medic Company 22. We were slightly further out from the incident, and so we were one of the arriving medic rigs after Captain Watson's crew was there. As I was on the way to this incident, I could hear Captain Rule, who I work with every day, on the radio calling out the multiple casualties were being pulled from the fire, so we knew that this was a serious situation that we were moving into. My crew and I moved in from the direction that we were asked to. As we arrived, Firefighter Mason and Firefighter Massip walked over one of the pediatric patients to us, and as Chief Sampson alluded to, we have great medical direction, and we had just finished last year a rather thorough evaluation and review of pediatric cardiac arrest. So I had a great crew, and we had all the medical direction that we need and the training that we needed to do great work for our patient. We knew multiple more medic companies were on our heels, and so our job then was to take great care of this patient and get out of the way for next arriving medic companies. So we did that, and I appreciate the help from everybody.
All right. We've talked, multiple people have mentioned medical direction. I'd like to invite Dr. Lacey up here from Regions.
All right. Hi, I'm Dr. Alex Lacey. I'm one of the burn surgeons at Regions Hospital, and I was on call that night. Through the incredible and swift action of our first responders, all these patients had already arrived when I got to the hospital that night, and resuscitation was ongoing. It's one thing to have one patient in arrest, but to have so many all at once really requires a lot of coordination of care and a lot of teamwork. So through the work of our emergency department, our trauma department, our burn unit, and of course the pediatric ICU doctors, we were able to deliver the best care for this family. But it really was a huge team effort, and everyone was there and giving their all for the family. It's been an ongoing process since then. Obviously, we've continued to provide care for the family, and we know sort of the fatalities that have happened so far, but I think we have got the best possible outcome given how much occurred to this family, and we also have the best possible outcome going forward because of how quickly and effectively everybody worked here to on that day. So
I think you've seen it here from a number of our responders. Obviously, the impact on these responders, doesn't compare to the impact on the family, but it definitely has had an impact on these responders and probably for the rest of their lives. I'd like to invite Union President Mike Smith up.
Good morning. Mike Smith. I'm president of IFF Local 21, representing these proud men and women of the St. Paul Fire Department. I had the honor of talking to a few of them, work at the same station, and I could tell that they were shaken, and they were adamant that we have to do something. And we make it, knowing that we not only work in this community, we want to be part of the community. And right now at this time, we believe the best thing that we can do is make a financial donation to the family. And we are, St. Paul Firefighters Local 21 is committed to a $10,000 donation to the family.
Deputy Chief Mocoso, also the Chief Fire Investigator. I can talk a little bit about the fire investigation. The preliminary report indicates that the fire was accidental. As folks have already kind of spoken to, in regards to fire that we see, it wasn't relatively large. This was probably a larger EMS incident than it was an actual fire event. There was a number of things that contributed to the injuries and the fatalities. One being the potential lack of egress with the kind of the first floor being above a tuck-under garage or a walkout basement. With limited egress, the victims would have had to come through the fire room to get out. We have worked with the ATF and also St. Paul Police in regards to the investigation. The ATF came in with their team, and they did an analysis of the electrical system, looking for arc mapping and whatnot, and determined that, to the best of their ability, electrical was not the cause of the fire. When we do investigations, we utilize a scientific methodology process where we're looking for competent ignition sources. And right now, again, the report is not final, but it does appear as if an unattended candle potentially was the cause of the fire. So I think everybody has spoken, and at this point, I would open things up to questions.
There was a neighbor that said that one of the firefighters was doing CPR efforts on two of the children at once. Is that accurate at all? Was that one of the firefighters here, the two that spoke? Maybe they missaw it. Just wanted to ask. And obviously, not the best outcome that we had here, but there were lives saved. Do you take any solace in that you did the best you can, and that just some things are out of your control? Anyone who wants to talk?
I think Firefighter Ricks and I have talked a little bit about this, and I'd invite him up to speak.
Yeah.
But again,
Yeah, I think that's an important thing that we look at as firefighters, right? I always say you can't put the train back on the tracks, you just deal with the wreckage. And we come when the wreckage is there, and we do our best job to, help as best we can. And we train and we prepare and we study, and we hope the day never comes that we have to use all the training we have. But when it does, I was really, really thrilled with the response that this fire department was able to give.
And The only thing I would add to that is that, and I think you've heard it a couple different times, right, from the response times to having, folks on scene quickly, properly trained. If you can imagine getting up at 1:30 in the morning, tones going off, being groggy, jumping on a rig, getting your stuff on, racing to a scene, hearing chaotic radio traffic, going into a burning building with conditions where you can't see, and then putting your hands on a child, and then taking that individual out, pretty chaotic. So for everything from transport times, from patient interaction being 9 minutes, from having rescue crews on scene, EMS crews on scene, short transport times to the hospital, and then being able to bring them to regions where they can receive the appropriate level of care. I think the responders behind me and everybody that day and the partnerships that we had truly gave these individuals the best opportunity possible.
Is there body camera footage that you'll all be able to share at some point?
No body camera footage. We don't have body cameras. They don't do well in fires. And we do have helmet cameras, but none of the firefighters were wearing them that day.
Members of the Hmong community were saying to me last week just that within the culture, they don't have that training, that fire safety awareness, etc. Has there been any discussion with members of the community to improve that at all?
Absolutely. We have a couple Hmong firefighters that will be on the radio here coming up, just talking about prevention education, as well as the chief is working on some community risk reduction specifically around the Hmong community as it relates to a number of things. Candles and incense being one. Anything that is a heating element, especially in cold winters and having children around or unattended. Heating sources can cause fires, so absolutely. We've got folks that obviously can speak the language and will be well received within the community as we deliver that message. But that message isn't exclusive to the Hmong community. We have, our elder population that utilize candles. We have, at the younger end of things, we have our college campuses where folks are, routinely burning candles and also utilizing incense or even smoking. So.
This one might be for Waters. To the best of your knowledge, was the mom, the wife, conscious when you encountered her, and what was her condition? What did she look like when you encountered her?
Joe, come on up.
When I found the adult victim, I went down the right side of the hallway, and towards the end of the hallway was the parents' bedroom on the right. The door was closed. I proceeded to open the door and then begin my search of the room. Immediately, as I went to my knee due to the smoke, the high smoke conditions, right past the door is where I located the mom, or the adult victim. She was on the floor. At that point in time, the crew from Ladder 22 was right behind me. So myself and then firefighter Hemquist proceeded to start to get the adult victim out of the room and down the hallway and then out the front door to medical care. At that point, while all that's going on, at the same time, all our other firefighters that are doing search are finding other pediatric victims, and so we're all in a coordinated effort trying to get everybody out of the house.
Was she speaking when you encountered her?
No, she was unconscious at that time.
Can we talk at all about how we found that it was a candle that was the cause?
That's part of the investigation. So anytime you're looking at an area of origin, you're also looking at potential causes. So you're looking at competent ignition sources, things that could actually start that fire. And also looking at what potential first fuels could have been involved. So in this situation, we were looking at primarily either a candle or potentially electrical. Again, we brought the ATF team in to assist with an analysis of the electrical system and doing some scans.
For Rick's, can you describe which parts of the house, which rooms were on fire?
I can probably speak to that, just having knowledge of the investigation. So the living room area was the area of origin. And in regards to prevention education, I think the big piece here is that always have an egress plan. To the best of our knowledge, it does look like there were working smoke detectors in the home. so the family would have been alerted of the fire. But having a solid egress plan would have been beneficial. Again, one with an egress plan for multiple children, something that's difficult, probably would need to be practiced, especially if it is involves going out a window that would be over an elevated space. So.
This may be for Dr. Lacey. When it comes to the manner of death for the children who were involved, was that primarily from the actual burns, from smoke inhalation? Is there any clarification on that?
Dr. Lacey, I invite you to come up here.
I can't speak exactly to the medical conditions just due to HIPAA requirements. So I know there's been a lot of press online about the fatalities as they've occurred, but we can't speak to specifics right now at this time.
That might be a question for the medical examiner's office. I think they did do one autopsy already.
I'd like to follow up too, just with what Captain Smith had mentioned about a lot of fellow firefighters, others being shaken. We're noticing the same from community members. I know a lot of you have children yourselves. Can you speak to just the impact that this has had on some of the consciousness of St. Paul residents and what you would advise for people who are kind of feeling what the family is feeling?
So, open this up to. No? Okay. I think we've had a couple of events in not only January 3rd, but just this last week, having a May Day on University, the building that ultimately collapsed. I think our firefighters are a little bit shaken. I think we go to work every day thinking, hey, after shift, I'm going to be able to go do this, or I have to go pick up my kids, or I have to go do something else, right? And sometimes we take for granted what it is that we have to do in that 24 hours from the time that we relieve somebody till the time that we leave from shift. And I think you've seen some visible emotion from some of the folks, and these are, just some of the responders that were on scene that day. So this event will stick with them for the rest of their lives. We had an after-action review that occurred Monday of this week, where folks had an opportunity to talk through the events. I know our peer support team has been in use in regards to everybody process things differently, right? What might impact me may not impact you. So we're fully aware of that as well. So it's something that we're going to continue to keep tabs on, and that outpouring of really wanting to do something more has led to the contact with Local 21 and firefighters pushing to make a donation. And initially, that donation was a smaller amount, and every time I've spoken to Captain Smith, that amount has gone up. So, all right. If there are no other questions, thank you for your time today.
Thank you all. If I can grab you all this way real quick.